say the only thing that we probably won't chat about on here is like commissions and stuff like that, just because that can be so personal, and that's a conversation we want to have more one-on-one rather than speaking about it broadly. So if you have questions about commissions and payouts and all that sort of stuff as far as you go, please call us afterwards, and we'd love to talk to you about it. We just won't talk about it today.
Great call. Okay, so Bankers. Main reason I like them is this large issue age. 18 to 99 is about as open as it gets. So no matter if you're working with multiple product lines, you're able to offer Bankers Fidelity. This is kind of a very standard thing to be a top recommendation. I want it to be a lump sum payout. One, I know we've talked about this in the past, but so much easier for the clients to understand. I pay X dollars, where if I get a diagnosis, I get this much money back. Where the paper service kind of gets into a lot more of the back and forth. You don't know, could get a lot more, you might pay more. Lump sum is just so much easier, and I want people to offer cancer insurance, so I want it to be easy. Lump sum's great for that. The benefit amounts go fairly high. I think that's wrong here. That's my bad. I didn't check that part, but it's 5,000 to 75,000. So a lot, goes a lot higher. So 75,000 is what we're looking at there. So we'll play around with that.
We'll fix it real quick, but
in case anybody's taking screenshots, redo your screenshot here in a second. That's my bad, Sadie. So 5,000 to 75,000. I will say, I would love to see a $75,000 policy written, but I could probably tell you that majority of people are taking somewhere between 10 and 30K.
Yeah.
That's going to be kind of your average range, but we do like the option that you can go super high end with this product.
Right.
And increments of 1,000, so very customizable. I hate answering the question of how much should I offer my client, because I don't want to tell you how much to offer them. I want you to work with the client's budget and make it work. 10,000 is usually a good starting point that I say, because the average drug cost that a cancer diagnosis would come along with is right around $10,000.
Yeah.
But that's just talking about medical costs. We're not even touching the non-medical.
Yeah.
So 10K is like it's better than nothing. Even if it's the 5K, some of these go lower, that's better than nothing. So play around with their budget, make it work for them.
Yeah.
Because having something is better than saying, nah, I can't afford the $75,000 benefit. Like, yeah, no, it's pretty expensive.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, whenever it comes to choosing like these benefit amounts, especially whenever you're working. Oh, by the way, the slide's fixed, so if you want to take a screenshot, go for it now.
Screenshot.
Yes. But whenever you're trying to figure out, well, how much should we have on here? Obviously, budget is going to play in mind, but keep in mind if you're working with someone that, client A has a history of cancer and or is just really nervous about it, you might go a little bit higher with that versus asking someone and talking to them, or them saying, I want to have this just to be safe, but I don't have a history of it. I seem to be pretty healthy, stuff like that. You can go on the lower side. So even being able to like customize and having such a wide range to be able to customize with people down to the amount increments of 1,000 can be huge for someone, and takes a little bit deeper dive, but you have the flexibility with this product.
And again, that's kind of why I like getting the products you like and not offering everything under the sun, so you don't have to figure out what those different increment levels are.
Yeah.
You know how to play around with it if Bankers is your choice. Another really cool feature that this is just another benefit of the plan is they offer different coverages on carcinoma in situ. Might be saying, Clayton, what's carcinoma in situ? Carcinoma in situ is essentially what is referred to in some worlds as stage 0. So this is something that's caught usually very early, and it's like a tiny little cell that's a cancerous cell, and typically can be removed with a quick surgery. Without getting super medical on this one, basically say it's stage 0, it's early, but some carriers don't pay it out, which we'll kind of go through today. Some play around with this because typically the treatment cost of a carcinoma in situ is a quick surgery to get that removed.
Yeah.
And you won't need the $30,000 benefit for that. But Bankers gives you the flexibility to choose 25% coverage or 100% coverage. I will say I'm a huge advocate for every single time make it 100% coverage, because the thing you don't want to happen is a client comes to you and says, well, Sadie, I have cancer. It was a carcinoma in situ, so I need to go ahead and process my claim. and you turn around and say, okay, well, you thought you were getting $10,000, you're actually only going to get 2,500. Because then we're going to have an uncomfortable conversation.
Right.
Well, you just got diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
Not fun. The difference in price doesn't make a huge, chunk difference, but again, it is something you can play with. So
right.
Flexibility is key with Bankers, and which brings me to my next point, going into our riders, that Bankers has a ton of different riders. The most important, I'm going to slide you up to that top box over on the right, is the Reoccurrence Rider. Reoccurrence riders are key, I think, whenever you're looking at a cancer plan, because this is basically, if you got cancer once, you have a great chance of getting it again, unfortunately. Now, after 5 years, which is a typical look back period, you're kind of out of that realm of getting it again, or your chances go down significantly. However, then you're at a higher age, so your price is going to be cost. So let me backstep a little bit here. Let's say you sign up for the plan at 65. Cool. You didn't get cancer till you're 70. Now you have to wait 5 years to get on another plan. So now you're 75. Your rates are going to look a lot different than when you signed up when you were 65. So if you have a reoccurrence rider, it allows you to keep the plan going while you're going through different treatments. You keep paying the premium, but your benefit rebuilds over a course of time at that lower premium, which is the important part. So optional occurrence benefit rider, I say it's optional because it is a rider. However, that's the first thing you should slap on someone's plan. If they're nervous about getting cancer once, they should be worried about getting it twice.
Yes, for sure. I mean, this can also help. This could be the deciding factor whether or not people say yes to the cancer plan, because if they see, oh, it won't just cover for once, I don't have to worry about, or don't have to worry about as much getting cancer from now or like within the future, because I will have some sort of coverage most likely if it comes back later. That can be a big deciding factor for someone whether or not they take it. So
for sure. And with cancer insurance products in general, they are very much of a preventative measure.
Yeah.
And it's hard to prevent round two, to get on a financial product or a health product like this for round two.
Yeah.
It just gets a lot more difficult. You have to start playing around with that. Does it have to be the same type? Same type of cancer? No, doesn't have to be the same type to get that reoccurrence benefit on there again. Fantastic question, Tara. So second opinion rider is another one that I love. It's super cheap. Like, think about, we always talk about the ambulance rider for like a hospital indemnity plan. It's like a slam dunk. It's like $2.
Right.
I think when I ran through this, it was like 48 cents.
Oh.
So what is it? The second opinion rider is exactly what it sounds like. It allows you to go get a second opinion. So you don't have to worry about, okay, well, that doctor's out of network. That bill might cost me another, $200-300 just to go see that person. What this second opinion rider does is give you $500 in addition to the benefit amount to go get another doctor to look at it.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone who has gone to a doctor and never gotten a second opinion on a cancer diagnosis.
Yeah.
You can trust your doctor all you want. I love my doctor. Shout out Dr. Bala. I love shouting him out, even though I know he's never seen one of these. But he took really good care of me here in Columbia. He said, this is kind of weird. Let me send you out to St. Louis, where I know there's a guy who's done more studies on this, and I actually learned under him. So I went to St. Louis out of network because I didn't care.
Right.
I was going to go get that coverage. And then we went to the Mayo Clinic for a third opinion, which is pretty typical. And for just 50-ish cents a day, or 50 cents a month, that is.
Yeah.
I said it like it was a one of those pet commercials.
Oh.
For 50 cents a day. Yeah. So the second opinion rider, very good plan to put on there. Gives people that comfortability of, especially like, let's say your Medicare Advantage folks, they've got their network. They know it's going to cost more to go out of that network. This quick plan can take care of that with just a little bit of money extra added on.
Yes, a huge thing with cancer insurance plans, again, we won't dive too deep into the why, but a big reason why they're so important is because whenever it comes to you or a loved one being diagnosed, you don't want to have to think about the money. You just want to be able to have the option to do. And adding little riders like this, sometimes I know from being like in the salesperson perspective, it can feel like, okay, but what about this? Okay, but what about this? Okay, what about this? But someone who has walked through, who's looking at this and might have walked through with a loved one, like a cancer diagnosis or something like that, these can be huge for them because they're like, oh my God, it's bringing up like, oh my gosh, yes, well, that's great. And it's only this much. They know how much it costs to have a cancer diagnosis, and they know all the little things that cost that add up to a lot. So these riders are so huge on cancer insurance plans because adding those on for not too much more can really make a difference in someone's journey on getting better. It can just allow them to say yes, let's fix this, yes, let's do this, without thinking about cost or worrying about the cost. You can just get better.
I love how you said that.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Yeah. Like I've done this before.
But that's exactly true. And I think that is a big reason why I love diving into these products as someone who's gone through that journey.
Yeah.
I would say it's like, this is really important. And the next one I think is very important. However, it does come at a slightly higher cost than the other couple riders we've talked about, which is the cancer radiation and chemotherapy benefit. Basically what this does is turn it into some type of paper service type plan. Like they'll give you a dollar amount based on however many units you select for if you were to get radiation or when you get chemo. There's a few other things on there. Obviously, those are the two big ones. But this is also, again, in addition to your lump sum. So this would be more so to help take care of the medical side, while your lump sum could be your non-medical cost.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I liked it. It wasn't a crazy amount higher, but do know that that is kind of more of the on the pricier end. And a lot of these plans have some really great riders. Bankers probably has like 10, 12 other ones that I could go over, and they're all really good. But the most important thing is to believe that these are the most important ones.
Yeah.
To understand the importance to your client by offering one of these riders and reoccurrence, second opinion, and to be able to get additional funds for radiation and chemo, to me, were the biggest importance. Okay, just reading a note from Kaylee.
Cool.
Okay, so the last thing is another rider, but it is kind of in its own category because, again, when we're talking about someone got a cancer diagnosis, you want them to know what they're going to get paid for that diagnosis. Mm-hmm. And skin cancer, a lot of times, is something that's not covered by a cancer plan unless it's malignant melanoma. So like it's a very bad form of skin cancer. However, skin cancer is extremely common. My wife's actually a dermatology nurse, so a ton of her day is getting to scrape skin cancers off of people, as gross as that sounds. Mm-hmm. But it's very needed. A lot of people get them of all ages. And a skin cancer rider like this is another one that's not very expensive, but that way you can tell them, like, if you were to get skin cancer, this will take care of that. Mm-hmm. Typically, that's going to be another treatment that's not a terribly high cost, but you do want to get it removed.
Right.
And this will pay you somewhere between $250 and $1,000. And you can kind of play around with those numbers as well there.
Yeah, I think about, like, I'm from a rural farm town. And so I think about, basically every farmer I know just goes in every year, gets checked because they always had to get something removed from their ear or something like that.
Yep.
Yes. So
grandpa.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, no. So I'm thinking like farmers and people who are out in the sun all day, people who work in construction and stuff like that. That can be a huge thing for them too. Just that alone might spark and be like, oh, yep, that's something I need.
And so yeah, you got somebody that's like, let's run through that scenario super fast. Was you got a farmer who's not super worried about getting a cancer diagnosis, but they know every year they're going through this.
Yeah.
Look at that $5,000 benefit for the lump sum, slap that higher skin cancer rider on there, and they can get a plan for relatively fair price by only kind of focusing on, well, I want to be covered if I do get a type of cancer,
yeah,
but I for sure want to be covered if I got skin cancer because I know I will.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
definitely something to look at. Last couple things before we move on to the next one. I knew this one was going to take a little while longer because we're going to talk through the different why these things are important.
Sure.
But underwriting wise, very simple underwriting. They do have a height and weight chart, but whenever I look at a height and weight chart, you might not be able to tell from this shot here, but I'm a little bit bigger of a guy myself. So I typically look at the height and weight chart and say, would I be accepted on a plan? And if I can be, I'm like, that's a very lenient plan. And if I can't be, I'm like, understand. So,
Come on.
so Bankers would allow me on their plan. I like the height and weight chart. It wasn't too strict by any means. You can be very tall and very thin, or very short and very thin, and you're still going to get on a plan.
Yeah.
Which is a concern on some of these other plans. This one does have it, but it's not that big a deal. The other huge aspect is the look back period, which is like, okay, I had cancer 5 years ago. What plan can I get? Most of these carriers are going to have either a 5 or 10-year look back. Bankers lands on the 5-year look back. So I love that aspect.
Yeah.
And 5 years is kind of the benchmark. We've talked about it before of you're way less likely to get cancer diagnosis after year 5 or a reoccurrence after year 5.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what a lot of carriers use for their look back. Bankers on that 5-year mark, love it.
Yeah, fantastic. Awesome. If anybody has any more questions about Bankers, we're just gonna start flowing through the rest of them. But please feel free to ask any questions on there that you'd like.
2 quick notes. They have cool trips. Bankers has amazing trips all the time. I think they're going to Iceland this year for their trip.
Sweet.
It's a little late, obviously, for you get in there now,
Yeah.
but Bankers is known for doing some like wild, exotic kind of trips like
That's
this.
sweet. Based on how much cancer products you sell?
Cancer, like I think they counted cancer or ancillary products at like 300% of what they do a med sup.
Sick. Cool.
Got a med sup, hospital indemnity, and a cancer product all in the same contract. So pretty cool.
Sweet. Yeah. So from like your perspective as well, because you guys don't do this for free. It can be easy sometimes to add these just one question per appointment. Basically, sometimes can make the difference of whether or not you're going to Iceland.
Exactly.
So yeah. And we see that, by the way, we say that, but we actually see agents do this. Yeah, I just started selling cancer this year. I just added one question per appointment. Next thing I know, I'm going to the Bahamas. So
Exactly.
it happens. So yeah,